So today we're going to talk about two different forms of linear equations. We've seen these throughout the unit, but we need to make sure we understand what standard form is. Okay, I refer to standard form as the pretty version of a linear equation. So standard form is when the equation is written as ax plus by equals c, where of course x is your domain, y is your range, a and b are considered your coefficients, and c is your constant. All right, so for a linear equation to be in standard form, it has no fractions. So again, this is what I consider informally the pretty version of a line. So it has no fractions. X and y are on one side, and the coefficient on the x is positive. All right, so let's take a look at number one. Number one, y equals negative 3x plus 4. We know that's slope-intercept form, right? Should be very familiar with that. The slope is, of course, m, and in this case, it would be negative 3, and the y-intercept would be 0, 4. So let's put that in standard form. Standard form would mean that I would need to move the x and y to one side. Now, since x is negative over here, I would go ahead and add 3 over there. And so in standard form, that would be 3x plus y equals 4. Something that I don't have written on here, but something that you may want to write down. You can tell the slope of the line in standard form by taking negative a over b. So I could do negative 3 over 1. And we can see in slope-intercept form, the slope is negative 3. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. 2/3 x plus 3y equals 1. All right, so x and y are on one side, but we have a fraction. So we've used this term before, this phrase, clear the fraction. Now, think about this though. I don't need to do anything with the 2. It's the fraction part or the denominator that I need to get rid of. So this is an equation, so what I do to one term, I do to all. So all I have to do is clear the fraction by multiplying every term by 3. You see why I don't have to touch the 2? I'm not solving for x or anything like that. I'm not multiplying by the reciprocal. I'm clearing the fraction, so I'm multiplying by the denominator. And if I do that, my 3's reduce, so I have 2x, but I've got to multiply every other term by 3 as well. So I have 2x plus 9y equals 3. All right, take a look at number 3. What is wrong with number 3? X and y are on one side, no fractions. Oh, this term is negative. So how do I get rid of a negative? I could multiply every term by negative 1. And so this would be 5x minus 8y equals 10. All right, so again, you could put this in slope-intercept form to name the slope, or you could do opposite a over b. So opposite a would be negative 5 over negative 8, which would be a 5/8. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. All right, x and y are on one side, so that's good, but we have fractions. We have more than one fraction. So we need to clear the fraction. So that means I need to clear the 4 and the 2. So what is a number that 4 and 2 both go into? Well, you could say 8, and I agree, but you want the least common denominator, or the smallest one. So a number that 4 and 2 both go into is 4. So I'm going to multiply every term by 4, because what I do to one term, I do to the other. So if I do that, my 4's reduce, nothing to reduce here, so I have 4 times y. 2 and 4 reduce by 2, which leaves me a 2. So this would be 3x minus 4y equals 2. Remember, slope. I could get y by itself and put it in slope-intercept form to see the slope in the y-intercept, but I could also take negative a over b. Negative 3 over negative 4 is a positive 3/4. Okay, number 5. This is in slope-intercept form. We can see that the slope is 5/6 and the y-intercept is 0, negative 2. Okay, I'm asking you to put this in standard form. So we got a lot going on here. We need to move the x and y to one side, so I'm going to subtract 5/6 x from both sides. Now, I also need to clear the fraction. But if you look ahead, I also need to clear the fraction, but I also have a negative. So, is it okay if I move this negative to the 6? Sure it is. because this is a negative 5/6 or a negative 5/6 here. So to clear my fraction, I'm going to multiply every term by negative 6. And when I do that, my negative 6 is reduced, so I have 5x minus 6y equals a positive 12, because negative 2 times negative 12 is, negative 6 is 12. Okay, last one, number 6. That's definitely in slope-intercept form. We know the slope is negative 1/2, and the slope, or the y-intercept is 0, negative 2/3. So I got a lot to do here. I need to bring the x and y on one side, so I'm going to add the 1/2 x. All right, now it all looks good, except I have fractions. I have to clear the fraction. Now, that just means I need to get rid of fractions, which means I need to do something so that I don't have a 2 and a 3 here. So I'm going to multiply what is the least common denominator that 2 and 3 go into. That is 6. So I'm going to multiply every term by 6. So 2 goes into 6 3 times, so I have 3x, nothing to reduce with the y, plus 6y. 3 goes into 6 twice, so 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and that's what I'm showing over here. All right, so standard form, pretty version of a line, no fractions, x and y are on one side, and the coefficient on the x is positive. So now, how do I take an equation from standard form and put it in slope-intercept form? Well, we should be experts at this, because isn't this just about getting y on a side by itself? All right, so in number 7, I need to move the 3x, so I'm going to subtract 3x. Now, these are not like terms, and remember we said it's better to put the x first, so it's like this form. So I have negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 8. Now I divide by a negative 2. Watch your signs. You divide by a negative 2, not a 2. A negative over a negative is a positive 3/2. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. So the slope is 3/2. The y-intercept is 0, negative 4. Number 8. This technically isn't in standard form because we have a negative, but regardless, the directions are put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to add x to both sides. So I have 3y, and remember we said, first of all, you can't take 6 plus x. Those are not like terms. It's better to write it as x plus 6. So now I'm going to divide everything by 3. Now, there's nothing wrong with writing this as y equals x over 3 plus 2. However, writing it like this, it may not be obvious what the slope is. Isn't there a 1 here? So it probably would be better to write this as y equals 1/3 x plus 2. So the slope is 1/3, the y-intercept is 0, 2. Okay, last problem. Hopefully, number 9, when you looked at that, you're thinking special case. So if I get y on a side by itself, that's just y equals 9. So isn't that a horizontal line? So remember, horizontal line has 0 steepness, so slope is 0. And remember, this will cross the y-axis at 0, 9. So knowing the difference between slope-intercept form and standard form.